First and last name, Deputy Chief.
I can. Bryce Blair, B-R-Y-C-E-B-L-A-I-R, Deputy Chief of Operations.
All right.
And where do we stand right now with this investigation?
Well, right now it's been handed back over to the building administrators, and so the advice that we gave them yesterday was not to change the environmental conditions that we left it. We were able to ventilate the buildings, all three buildings, down below into what would be considered acceptable levels of the VOCs, volatile organic compounds, and but that did entail that they had not opened up the surgical wing of it, nor, plus all HVACs were on 100% outside air. So that got us down to an acceptable level. Changing any of those might potentially then bring the problem right back to where it was. And so they were going to contact a private company. Also, the county and the city, or the county and the state health department's going to be involved in proceeding with
Chemical
this.
that they were exposed to?
Well, it's a VOC. Our meters can detect parts per billion on that. And so we did get what's registered hits on VOCs. VOCs run a gamut. There's many of volatile organic compounds that follow in there. And basically what they are, they're carbon-based, and they easily evaporate. And in that range of VOCs are some that are very deadly and some that are not. Fortunately, we had people with those symptoms then kind of faded, fortunately, yesterday. So we didn't have anybody that had any serious medical issues at the time. But we have not identified a specific element or compound or chemical that they've been exposed to.
How do you go about narrowing that down then?
Well, the Toledo Fire hazardous material team, we have Station 6 and Station 7 are part of our team. Extensive training, extensive equipment, and some of our meters, you'd be surprised how expensive these meters are, and they can really dial in with great specificity as to what we're looking at. When you're able to have like a solid or a liquid, then we can pretty much give you an idea of what exactly it is. Airborne, it's a little tougher, and so in this case, we have specific meters. Well, one of the concerns was it Freon? We have Freon meters. One of the concerns was it xylene? And we have meters that are able to check for that, and a negative and a negative. So we had the broad spectrum meters hitting on parts per billion on VOCs, which there are many VOCs. So then it becomes a detective case of what is it we're looking for? What is it possibly is the source? And we went extensively through all three buildings to try to find out what these sources were. And we were not able to come up with a source at that time. We did get readings that were beyond what we wanted to see people inside. And in building 2, they were considerably higher than in building 1 or 3. And part of our detective work goes to what's called concentration gradients, where you then take a look at where is it that we have the greatest concentration of contamination and work out from there. And so we suspected that our issue is in building 2. We were not able to find it. So we went about, once we realized we were not going to be able to find it, then we went ahead and made sure complete evacuation, ventilation below a level that would then be acceptable, and then we return it to the building administrators, building owners.
Do you think how it was released? Do you know where it was released, how it was released?
No, and so some of his gas. So it was the sewer gas coming up, and then you're looking at methane or hydrogen sulfide. We can identify those. Also, there was a concern that it might have been xylene. Then obviously take a look at the physical characteristics of xylene. Is that what we're looking for? And also we pull out this specific Draeger tube for it, and no, that wasn't the case. So then also you have surgical gases that are there, and then some of those gases would not register as VOCs, so even if they were leaking, they would not be triggering those meters. So some of it, most likely, the best bet they're going to be doing is bringing in the companies that do handle their surgical gases and their sterilization gases, and to know their systems very well, to take a look at. Do we have a bad connection? Do we have a leaky valve here? Now, when we did have the surgical area shut down yesterday, there was a dramatic decrease in the level of contamination. That's one of the reasons that we obviously suspect that would be an area of concern.
So you're zeroing your investigation into the surgical area with these surgical gases, is that correct?
They were. Some of those gases, like I said, would not register as a VOC meter, so they're not the problem. It's just that when we're trying to play 2 plus 2 and be a detective, we have what's called a concentration gradient of the contamination. And so I have high concentration and then I have lower concentrations going into the outer buildings. So obviously we're going to take a look at what's here. Then we have that same area, we have a shutdown of the surgical operations, and now we have a reduction in the contamination. That leads me to believe 2 plus 2, I have the general area and possible areas of concern.
Talking about those evacuations, and you mentioned the surgical unit, you said some patients were in surgery while this was all happening and while the evacuations were taking place. What did that look like for you, evacuating that building?
Well, it's tricky when you have people that are undergoing surgery right then and there, and then I would give the example. If the building was on fire, it's not even a question. That you go ahead and pull everybody out that's in immediate danger, and that we do a defend in place for those people that we cannot remove. So we had many people that were in building 2 that were showing no symptoms whatsoever, and appeared not to be concerned. So when you had people that, when doing a risk-benefit analysis, do I yank these people out of surgery and pull them into the parking lot? No, they're better served in continuing as we were, and pulling out people that were not essential. It's best to get them out, and so there's not a great exposure. And one of the concerns here would be, how long has this been a problem? If this is a problem that was acute just for yesterday and it happened at 11:30 in the morning, or has this been around for 5 days? And so there are no immediate effects. Therefore, yes, there was a concern that the people in the surgery continue with the surgery and be treated as best they could, and then be removed as soon as we could, and that's what we did.
We're hearing stories of a woman being pulled out of surgery and taken care of, everything being shut down. Was there?
As far as I know, the surgeries were completed and they were moved into surgical recovery, and they went through that process. Yes, as far as I know, one person was transported after that process took place. But no, as far as I know, all surgeries went to their completion.
Is the clinic still at risk, and is it still closed, and how long will it be closed?
That they're going to have to answer that question on that. That's going to really be dependent upon the company that they bring in and what they find. Whether the surgical wing has to be gone through from start to finish, I wouldn't be able to tell you that. I just know that there was the concern that we left them with, that if they were to change the current environmental circumstances that we left them with, that the problem might reoccur.
I guess for me, one last question, but the hazardous material team, this is stuff that you train for, you're going out there. Can you tell me exactly, what this team does and how this all kind of came together when you're going into a situation you don't know what's going on?
Good question. This did not start out as a hazardous material run, and so it's one of those things that as it develops, it then becomes one of those issues of how do we best handle it. So we have a hazardous material team. It covers the 18 counties in Northwest Ohio. They also are fire and EMS and tactical rescue, so this is only one of the things they do. There's extensive training, and as I kind of alluded to, there's extensive money that goes into the process of having a hazardous material team. So in this case, it came in as some people that might have had potential difficulty breathing, scratchy throats, and so they didn't come in initially as a hazardous material. So those units weren't even sent in the beginning. So it's one of those, as you start to do the deeper dive into the situation and you realize, wait a minute, this is not something simple. Matter of fact, it was first suggested it might have been pepper spray. Most pepper sprays, though I wouldn't want to be blasted with them, are not a hazardous material run. And so it's first thought that if you had a pepper spray incident by which there might have been an altercation and somebody used pepper spray, then we go ahead and EMS treat them, and we can then have some decontamination of if the rooms were involved, whatever. But it turned out that it was not going to be a pepper spray, and then it became an unknown. So what are we talking about with a respiratory irritant or possible, to what level of toxicity are we talking about where we're exposed to? That becomes hazardous material, and we bring Station 6 and Station 7. Now, hazardous material runs are typically, we slow down to go fast. There's a lot of research that needs to be done on the potential products that we're looking at, that we're exposed to, how best to treat the people, what level of personal protection we're talking about going in. You have to set up an entry team, a backup team. You have to have decon set up before they go in. So unlike we show up to a building that's on fire where we just pull hoses, kick the door, and go in, hazardous material is one that you do slow down to make sure you're going to do it right.
Anybody been hospitalized, and are there any serious health risks to those exposed yesterday?
No, none that I know of. We didn't have any serious symptoms at all once time went by. We had none to begin with, but all of them didn't even have to do that.
Just the exposure outside the parking lot cleared it up for this.
Now, one of our concerns would be, it's called the level of contamination, and then what doses have you been exposed to? You can be exposed to a toxic element at a low doses and have minor symptoms, and they may dissipate within a day, and there's no ill effects whatsoever. But that's also based upon duration of exposure and level of exposure. We have found nothing, but as of right now, I can't even tell you what they were exposed to. We just know that they were VOCs, and some VOCs are minor and some are not minor. But there's an expectation of serious exposure that symptoms don't go away right away.
So is the fire department, their participation in this event, is it over? At
this time. If we are needed, we're more than happy to go back. And I assume that today we will have personnel that will stop over there just to see how the process is going for them.
Anything else, Chief?
I guess one other thing. So you mentioned it's really hard to figure out when it's gas and not so much when it's solid or liquid. Is this something you would invest in, trying to, like, is there technology out there that
there is, and we do have some. I mean to overstate that. Yes, we are able to identify many gases. It's just some of these meters cost 6 figures, and so obviously there's only so many dollars to go around to buy these. Our team is well equipped. It is a Type 1 team, and they're quite capable. There are some cases by which you can't tell. And we've had runs by which we mitigate the immediate threat, and what's the answer at the end? Not sure. So that's as best as you can get on some of them. As you can imagine, to use an analogy, we have very good arson investigators, fire cause investigators, and we are able to identify those in many cases. In some cases, we're not able to. They will say, what caused the fire? The building's too badly damaged, and we didn't have any witnesses in the beginning, and we go with our best guess.